Am I recording? Hello again, it's me Chaz back with another video. This is my CAF 2026 World Cup qualifying match day 5 video for Group D, E and F. There is a total of 9 groups and the top team in each group will qualify for the 2026 World Cup. The 4 best second place teams will be put into a mini tournament, and the team that wins that mini tournament will then have another chance to qualify for the 2026 World Cup by being placed in the Interconfederation playoffs. If that team is ranked high enough, they would only have to play one time, but if they're not, if they're a lower ranked team, they would have to play at least 2 teams. Going to start this video with the first group that I mentioned, and that is Group D. The nations in this group are Mauritius, Eswatini, Libya and Cape Verde. All 4 of those nations have never competed at the World Cup. Another nation in this group is Angola, who competed at the World Cup for the first time and the only time back in 2006, where Germany were the hosts. But a nation in this group who has competed at many World Cups and is the first African nation to reach the quarterfinals of a World Cup back in 1990. That nation is Cameroon. Just mentioned that Cameroon also in 1990, they did defeat the current holders at the time, that was Argentina. We're going to start off with the game between Eswatini and Cameroon, which took place in South Africa, in the Mbombela Stadium, which was one of the stadiums used at the 2010 World Cup, which was hosted by South Africa. There was a game between Italy and New Zealand. Italy were the holders at the time. They drew surprisingly to New Zealand 1-1. This game between Eswatini and Cameroon also finished in a draw, but this time it was a goalless draw between the 2 nations. This draw for Eswatini would be the first time they get any points in the World Cup qualifiers. They also draw their next game against Mauritius, which was a very interesting 3-3. I would discuss that game more when I do talk about match day 6. This draw for Cameroon definitely was a setback, especially considering Eswatini was bottom of the group, still do remain bottom of the group at March. That said, they do pick up another win though. They beat Libya, which puts them in a great position. At the end of match day 6 and March, they do end up being just a point behind Cape Verde. But if they did beat Eswatini, this would have put them in a really good position. A better position anyway. And speaking about Cape Verde, who were top of the group at the beginning of March and do end being in the top of the group in this month, Cape Verde, they went up against Mauritius. Cape Verde comes out with a win, very late goal in the 84th minute by Shemedo. I am not sure if he meant that. I really am not, but good goal regardless. Cape Verde go on to win their next game in March. They beat Angola 2-1, keeping them top of the table, and they are so close to qualify for their very first World Cup. Still just a point ahead of Cameroon, who are definitely going to keep breathing down their neck, but they are in a really good position here, Cape Verde. And the final game in this group was between Libya and Angola, which ended in a 1-1 draw. Goalless first half by 2 teams. Of course, that's why it's goalless. But late on, both goals come very late, especially the equaliser. But the first goal was scored by Libya. Some good feet there from Ali Sola there before he crossed the ball in for El Lafi. That really good header on. Anyway, Angola do equalise late on, 3 minutes in injury time. Freddie scores there. Now it's a bit tricky to explain what happened there for that goal. Definitely a lot of tension at the end there. But that's a good equaliser for Angola there. Very disappointing for Libya, briefly good win there. Libya then go on to lose a big game against Cameroon. if they did win that game, they would have been in a better position to qualify automatically. Now they're in a harder position for them to even qualify for the second round. Still, there is still a total of 4 games left to be played, so we'll see what happens there for them. Again, I will discuss the match that they did have with Cameroon when I do talk about match day 6 in a bit more detail. For Angola, even though again they managed to get a draw just at the end against Libya, they do end up losing to Cape Verde. They're also in a very tight position. The only way I could see them qualifying for the World Cup is through the Interconfederation again, which is still going to be tough for them to even get that spot. Alright then, that was Group D. Now we're going to move on to Group E. Alright, so Group E, a couple of things I need to state on Group E. Before this group even started, Eritrea withdrew, and in the middle of qualifying, Congo was disqualified. They were disqualified on the 6th of February this year. So now this group just has 4 teams in it. So the rest of this group has Tanzania, Zambia, Niger. All 3 of those nations have never competed in a World Cup before. And finally, Morocco. They are the first African nation, the first nation from the CAF ever to make it to the final 4 of the World Cup when they reached the semi-finals of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. They will also be hosting the 2025 African Cup of Nations. Alright, so because of the things I mentioned earlier about Eritrea and Congo, there was only one match that took place on match day 5 in this group. The match between Zambia and Eritrea was cancelled, and the game between Tanzania and Congo, Tanzania was awarded a 3-0 win. So that just leaves the game between Niger and Morocco, which ended in a 2-1 win for Morocco. Interesting enough, this game was played in Morocco, even though Niger was the home team here in the Honour Stadium. So another goalless first half, but 2 minutes in to the second half, Niger surprisingly takes the lead here. Goal from Youssef Almaru scored for Niger, so 1-0 lead there. However, for Morocco, they managed to get an equaliser. Ismail Saibara scored, and then late on, 1 minute into injury time, Bilal El Khanas gives Morocco the lead here. That's another win for Morocco. A bit of a shaky start there, but Morocco pulls through. Again, because of what I mentioned with Eritrea and Congo, Morocco were the only team in this group to play twice in March. They go on to beat Tanzania 2-0. It's been a very comfortable for them for the most part. Morocco, 5 wins, no losses, 14 goals scored, only 2 conceded. They look comfortable. They will qualify for another World Cup. And after their fantastic performance in 2022, they could just go hungry to try and get beyond that stage, try and make it into the final. Big possibility that they could be the first African nation to reach the final. Maybe win it, who knows. For now though, qualifying is the most important thing, which looking like they will do. And of course they will be hosting the next African Cup of Nations this year. So they got that to try and win as well. And the final thing about Morocco before I move on to Group F, Morocco will be only the second nation in Africa to ever host the World Cup. They will be co-hosting the 2030 World Cup with Portugal and Spain, the second time for Spain and also the first time for Portugal. That World Cup would also be the first ever World Cup to be on multiple continents, considering that both Spain and Portugal are in UEFA in Europe and Morocco is in Africa in the CAF. And also one final thing, Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay would also have a match each as anniversary host, because the 2030 World Cup would be 100 years since the very first World Cup was hosted in Uruguay. Alright, this was Group E. Now let's move on to Group F. Okay then, so Group F. The nations in Group F: Gabon, Burundi, Kenya, Gambia, Seychelles, and the only team in this group, or nation in this group, to ever qualify for the World Cup, Ivory Coast. Let's start off with the game between Burundi and Ivory Coast, which again also took place in Morocco, Meknes Honor Stadium. Okay, so Ivory Coast do win this game against Burundi, a 1-0 win here for them. The only goal that was scored in this game was scored in the 16th minute. Evan Gassan scored for Ivory Coast, giving them the win there. And Ivory Coast do go on to win their next game against Gambia. That's back-to-back wins for them in March and moves them into first in this group, a point ahead of Gabon. For Burundi, even though they do lose this game, they do bounce back heavy against Seychelles, defeating them 5-0. They are 5 points off of second and 6 points off first at the end of March after match day 6. If they are going to qualify at all, or even get that second spot to try and qualify for the second round, they got to win the next 4 games. They have to win all 4 of them. I've just mentioned Gabon and Seychelles. Gabon win against Seychelles 3-0. First goal came from Jim Alavina. Good header there with only 3 minutes in. Nice one there. Good assist. A good ball in there from Obiang there. Then 2 goals from Dennis Bouanga. 1 goal in the first half on 30th minute. Made it 2-0 for Gabon. Yeah, that's a good assist from Kang there. Nice ball there. And a great finish there. So yeah, that's a nice one there. And the second goal from Bouanga. So it came in the 63rd minute. A little bit of luck here. A little bit of luck. He headers it in. Kind of gives himself his own assist there. Maybe not so much luck. I don't know. But good there. 3-0 for Gabon. That's his 5th goal, by the way, in qualifying. Should also mention Jim Alavina. His goal here was his 3rd goal during this World Cup qualifying campaign. So that's really good for both of them there. They do go on to win their next game against Kenya, where they do win 2-1. They are close to Ivory Coast at the end of March with only a point behind them and a few more games left to play. This group most likely would be decided, at least between the top 2 teams anyway, in match day 10. And finally, we got a 6-goal thriller between Gambia and Kenya, which ended 3-3. This game between Gambia and Kenya took place in Ivory Coast in the Alassane Ouattara Stadium. The stadium held a lot of games in the African Cup of Nations back in 2023, where Ivory Coast did end up winning, and they are the current champions, the African champions. They beat Nigeria 2-1 in this stadium. But for now, back in March anyway, it was the stadium held for the 6-0 thriller between Gambia and Kenya, where Gambia were leading 2-0 to start off with. Crazy thing about this game, all 6 goals were scored in the second half. Musa Barrow would give Gambia the lead here. Brilliant strike here, outside of the box there. 6 minutes later, Gambia will double their lead. Joseph Cisse does well to stop the ball going out for a goal kick, passing it to, giving it to Yambuka Minta, who great feet there and great shot. Makes it 2-0 for Gambia. But Kenya were awarded a penalty. Yeah, I'd say just about, penalty there. Just giving a penalty. Michael Ulang scores the penalty for Kenya. That's now 2-1. They equalise in the 79th minute. Goal from Mohamed Bajaba scored. Really good goal there, he scores. Another one just outside the box. Some really good goals in this game. Gambia do go back into the lead though in the 84th minute. Another goal from Musa Barrow, which is now his 4th goal in this World Cup qualifying campaign. But Kenya would bounce back again. They would equalise again for a final time in this match, making the game finish 3-3 late on, 6 minutes in to injury time. Throw-in caused all that chaos in the box there, and Kenya do equalise. William Wilson with the goal for Kenya. Alright, Gambia do go on to lose against Ivory Coast, so it's very disappointing March for them. And for Kenya, they also lose against Gabon. So both those two that drew that game lost to the top 2 teams in this group. And a quick couple of things to mention at the end of Group F on match day 6, which I will talk about more when I eventually get to those videos. Seychelles cannot qualify for the World Cup this time around, and Gambia's only way they can qualify is being in second because they've missed out on the automatic qualifying position. I'll go on, I'll discuss those games later when I do get to the match 6 videos, but this was my CAF World Cup qualifying video for match day 5 in Group D, E and F. Thanks for watching, listening, appreciate it as usual, and once again, bye.